Hello, this is Janetta Estes again, and I have made some videos trying to prove that science proves that God is real and that He's the creator of the universe. And well, I've been informed that I hadn't done a good job of explaining it. So I'm hoping this time I can explain it better and make it where it's really understandable. Now I will be using science and the Bible, but I'm going to be reading a lot. The Bible says the things of God are clearly seen by the things that are made, even to the Godhead. And science and history are both studies of the things that are made. So all they do is explain God's creation. Preachers used to not be able to understand this, but is now starting to be recognized. Now, a lot of people don't believe that God exists, but I'm going to show you scientific proof that God does exist and that He created all things. And the Bible says faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word. And it's my hope that when you read this, when you hear this, that it'll make believers out of all who hear it. First of all, the Bible says God is a spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. So just what is a spirit? Well, the English dictionary says a spirit is air. What is air? The dictionary says air is a mixture of gases, and those gases circumvent the earth. That means it is the earth's atmosphere. So then you will say, if God is God really alive? Is He a living being? And the answer is yes. Because in the meanings of spirit, it also says personality is one of the meanings. And only a living thing has a personality. Even animals have their own personalities, and so does God. And if you look at the air, it has its own personality. Because sometimes it's a gentle breeze that blows, yet at other times it's a hard wind, like a tornado or a cyclone. So air has a personality. It can be calm or it can be cruel. It can get mad, like God can get mad. And so when a storm comes, He's trying to tell us something. Or see, air is a living thing, and we breathe air. So, and the Bible says God breathed the breath of life into man. So air has life in it. We know we can't live without breathing air. So air has life in it. So now it also says in the meaning of spirit, it also said utterance. So an utterance is speech. Now the Bible says when Jesus come to the earth and He was baptized, this is before He was crucified for us, when He was baptized, that God's voice like thunder said, "This is my son." So when it thunders, that's God's voice. He's saying something. And when it comes a storm, He's trying to warn us about something. That's what I believe with all my heart. Now, I'm going to use some science here, and we're going to look at some things and see if science shows air at the beginning. Now, as I said, spirit is air, and the Bible says God is a spirit, and air is gases. Now, I'm going to read you some science here. Okay, a densely packed star-forming galaxy is reproducing the events that brought light to the early universe. The nearby compact galaxy, which is rapidly producing stars, has many of the characteristics that would have been required to light up the early universe. And also, if you think about it, it would have lit up before the universe was formed, because the Bible says, God said first, let there be light. So He made light first. And according to this, He did too. Located approximately 3 billion light years from the Milky Way, The star-forming regions of the tightly bound galaxy are surrounded by dense clouds of gas. Gases, air. Holes in the gas allow radiation to leak out, mimicking events that would have broken through the darkness that followed the birth of the universe. So, gas, air was there first, and would have lit up the darkness, the dark void that was there before the universe formed. Now, the Bible says in the beginning the earth was void and without form, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Well, now science says nothing existed until the universe was formed, but now they show that gases was there because they formed stars that started the universe to. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. Now, this galaxy produces approximately 50 solar masses worth of stars each year, more than 33 times the number of stars created by the Milky Way every year, while most stars in other locations remain swathed in the gas that forms them, trapping radiation inside. But this galaxy has holes that allow the radiation to escape, much as it might have been in the early universe. So as you can see, stars was made first, before the universe. And it was made from gases, and air is gases. The high density of stars in a compact region results in an explosion. There's your Big Bang. Like feedback that is able to create the gaps. Lead author of the study, I can't even say that name, Sanchita Borkuther of Johns Hopkins University told Space.com by email. So, as you can see, from the beginning, air was there, and God is there. So who's the creator? God. Now, as I've said, I was going to prove that science proves God exists. Well, it proves air exists. And we know air exists because we have to breathe it to live, and we know it's got life in it because it makes us live. Without it, we couldn't live. So air has life in it, and air has personality. Air has utterance. It has speech. It has personality. Air is a living thing. God is air. He's a spirit. Now let's go on here. If I can get these papers separated. Now, only a few 100,000 years after the... Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have... Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have the rest of that one paper, but I had enough to show you stars was made first, and then the stars let off radiation, which caused the Big Bang. But the stars was formed from gases, and the radiation came forth from where the stars gave off heat and light, and it caused radiation to form. Radiation is what caused the Big Bang. Now let's go here. The Big Bang Theory is a prevailing cosmological model for the early Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Head company. The Big Bang Theory is the prevailing cosmological model for the early development of the universe. The key idea is that the universe is expanding. Consequently, the universe was denser and hotter in the past. Now, what does the word density mean? It was denser, it was dense. Density means fog. That's air and water. Now, the Bible says and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. That's what happened first when God got ready to create the universe. And the science says the universe was denser and hotter in the past. And we just discussed about the stars making it light and heat. Moreover, the Big Bang model suggests that at some moment all of space was contained in a single point, which is considered the beginning of the universe. So the universe had a beginning. Modern measurements place this moment at approximately 13 and 18 billion years ago, which is thus considered the age of the universe. Now, a lot of Christians for years has preached that the earth was, that the Lord created heaven and the earth in 7 days, and he did. But they say it's 7 24-hour days. Ain't no place in the Bible it says that those days was 24-hour days. You see, the Bible says that a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, not is 1,000 years, but as 1,000 years, or 1,000 years as a day, which means a day with the Lord is a long, long era of time. So 7 days would mean that there was 7 long eras of time during this 13 and 18 billion years. It fits together. After the initial expansion, the universe cooled sufficiently to allow the formation of subatomic particles, including protons, neutrons, and electrons. Those simple atomic nuclei formed within the first 3 minutes after the Big Bang. Thousands of years passed before the first electrically neutral atoms formed. The majority of atoms produced by the Big Bang were hydrogen, along with helium and traces of lithium. Giant clouds of these primordial elements later coalesced through gravity to form stars and galaxies. Now, what forms gravity? Well, according to science, it's formed from I can't even say it. Electromagnesium forms gravity. Okay, electromagnesium comes from electricity. Where does electricity come from? Air. Okay. And the heavier elements were synthesized either within stars or during supernova, The Big Bang Theory offers a comprehensive explanation for a broad range of observed phenomena, including the abundance of light elements. There's your light elements. The cosmic microwave background, large-scale structure, and Hubble's law. As the distance between galaxies increases today, in the past galaxies were closer together. The known laws of nature can be used to calculate the characteristics of the universe in detail, back in time, to extreme densities. There's your water and air, and temperatures. That's your heat. While large particle accelerators can replicate such conditions, resulting in confirmation and refinement of the details of the Big Bang model, these accelerators can only probe so far into high energy regimes. Consequently, the state of the universe in the earliest instance of the Big Bang expansion is poorly understood. It's still an area of open investigation. But since this was put out, the first one I read was put out, and they found that the stars were made first, and that the stars released light and heat that released radiation, which caused the Big Bang to start and the universe to expand. The Big Bang Theory does not provide any explanation for the initial conditions of the universe. You see, this was before it was before they discovered about the stars being made first. Rather, it describes and explains the general evolution of the universe going forward from that point on. So this only covers from the Big Bang on up to now. But the first one I read you, is before the Big Bang. Belgian Catholic priest and scientist George Lemaitre proposed what became the Big Bang Theory in 1927. Over time, scientists built on his initial idea of cosmic expansion, which his theory went could be traced back to the origin of the cosmos, and which led to formation of the modern universe. The framework for the Big Bang model relies on Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity and on simplifying assumptions, well, if I can hold this still, such as homogeneity and isotropy of space. The governing equations were formulated by Alexander Friedman, and similar solutions were worked on by William D. Sitter. In 1929, Edwin Hubble discovered that the distances to faraway galaxies were strongly correlated with their redshifts. Hubble's observation was taken to indicate that all distant galaxies and clusters have an apparent velocity directly away from our vantage point. That is, the farther away, the higher the apparent velocity, regardless of direction, assuming that we are not at the center of a giant explosion. The only remaining interpretation is that all observable regions of the universe are receding from each other, so it's still expanding. While the scientific community was once divided between supporters of two different expanding universe theories, the Big Bang and the steady state theory, observational confirmation of the Big Bang scenario came with the discovery of the cosmos, microwave background radiation, in 1964, and later when its spectrum, the amount of radiation measured at each wavelength, was found to match that of thermal radiation from a black body. Since then, astrophysicists have incorporated observational and theoretical additions into the Big Bang model, and its parameterization as a lambda CDM model serves as the framework for current investigation of theoretical cosmology. So, according to this, it started off kind of like a black hole. Well, the Bible says that in the beginning, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. So that's just going together right there. And then, according to that we read a while ago, stars were formed first, which let off heat and light, which let off radiation, which caused the Big Bang, which caused the universe to expand. And it's still expanding today. But it all started off from gases, which is air. Now this is another paper. Though physicists have a decent understanding of the early stages of the universe, the immediate fractions of a second following the Big Bang, known as the Planck era, are not well understood. From the moment of initial expansion to 10 seconds afterwards, cosmologists suspect that the four fundamental forces at work in the universe today were strong and weak electromagnetism and gravity, were combined into a single unified force. So, let me read what I got here now. Electricity comes from air, and that formed electric magnetism and gravity. For gravity forms from electric. Gravity forms from magnetism, and the magnetism is formed from electric, and electric comes from the air. Air produces electricity, which produces magnetism, and that mixed with gravity, and they became one force. But then here it says the grand unification era followed the Planck era, taking place between 10 seconds and 10 seconds. The era began with gravity's separation from the other three forces and ended with the separation of the strong force from the electro-weak force. So here is where gravity separated from the electric electromagnetic force and released energy, which caused the expansion of the universe. And the energy, this is saying energy caused the expansion of the universe. The other one names that energy was radiation caused from the stars, caused from the light and heat of the stars. At the beginning of the electroweak era, the strong force decoupled from the electroweak force, releasing a tremendous amount of energy and triggering a sudden rapid expansion known as inflation. I want to show you something here. A lot of people believe energy is what started the Big Bang, but here it shows the energy didn't come till at the beginning. Till after the beginning. Energy was not first. Energy was released when the electroweak force and the gravity separated, releasing a tremendous amount of energy and triggering a sudden rapid expansion known as inflation. As space expanded more rapidly than the speed of light, extremely energetic interactions created elementary particles such as photons, gluons, and quarks. There ended with the separation of electromagnetism from the weak force, and this produced the particles. And then the gravity, as I said, pulled away from the electromagnetic force, and that created the elementary particle error. Between 10 seconds and 1,000th of a second, the elementary particle error, a particle soup filled the universe. So first, the particles mixed together as a soup. Quarks and antiquarks, electrons and positrons, and other particles and antiparticles continually swap mass for energy via matter-antimatter collisions. As the universe cooled, the temperature dipped too low to recreate pairs of particles from photons, and the particles continued to annihilate without being replaced. A slight asymmetry between the amount or the possible behavior of matter and antimatter enabled matter to dominate and become the universe's primary ingredient. So there is where mass was formed. The cooler temperature also enabled the strong nuclear force to draw quarks together to form protons and neutrons. So there's some more of what happened. But as I said, air started it all. The gases, and air is gases. But for a small child, that just leads to another cosmic why question. Why did the universe explode? It is this question that last week's announcement was all about. Around 30 years ago, theorists started to sketch out ideas for what could have triggered the Big Bang. They discovered that the laws of physics allow the experience of strange force fields with astonishing powers. Firstly, they could be anti-gravitational in effect and capable of expanding the very fabric of space and time. Second, they could also be extremely powerful, triggering an explosive expansion that allowed the universe to grow from smaller than a subatomic particle to the size of a grapefruit in a trillionth of a second. Now, this gravitational effect was where the air formed the electromagnetism and the gravity, and then they separated. But remember, the stars was made first, which caused the radiation to make the Big Bang happen. Okay, this is known as inflation. This expansion could take place faster even than the speed of light. Einstein's famous ban on such speeds circumvented by the fact it applies only to objects traveling through space, not space itself. Inflation was such a neat idea that it also triggered an explosion in theoretical work. Yet what it lacked was support from observations of the real universe. That is what now seems to have emerged in the form of patterns left in the cosmic microwave radiation by so-called gravitational waves. So there's your microwave radiation. Predicted by Einstein almost a century ago, these waves should be generated whenever huge masses undergo violent accelerations, but they've never been directly observed. Given that masses don't get bigger than the whole universe, nor accelerations more violent than inflation, gravitational waves should have been generated aplenty if there is any truth to the theory. Now this is evidence for what caused the Big Bang, or what caused the universe to expand. This says the whole sky is hissing. Now get this, hissing at microwave frequencies, and the hiss had properties of radiation left over from the Big Bang. So that means there had been a cosmic detonation that had started the whole process. Now what causes radiation? The word radiant, which is a root word of radiation, means emitting rays of light or heat. And radiation is emitting radiant energy. And the energy is light and heat. The Bible says when God created the universe that God first said, let there be light. So science and the Bible agree here, because science says that light and heat was the energy, and the Bible says God said, let there be light. Now, what caused the light and heat that caused the radiation that caused the Big Bang? Well, according to science, I hope I ain't losing any of these papers out of the right places. Oh, I've lost a paper. Well, what caused the Big Bang was what I read in the first paper. It was that the gas formed stars that formed light and heat, which formed radiation. And the sky, the star galaxy, was hissing radiation rays. And that's what caused the Big Bang. And today, the star galaxies still hiss radiation. That's how come they found that out. As per Big Bang Theory, three entities must have existed even before the happening of the Big Bang, which resulted in the creation of this universe. Those three entities were matter, energy, and infinite space. As per Einstein's calculation, which are found to be very accurate in some recent experiments and observations, there was probably a huge ball of matter, like billions of times bigger than our current universe. This ball collapsed on its own enormous gravity, creating a huge black hole, releasing peripheral mass into the infinite space some 13 billion of years ago. This huge amount of peripheral matter formed galaxies and solar and lunar systems within galaxies. And we went through what caused the gravity. These new findings and discoveries about black holes do not only provide more proof for Einstein's equations, but also confirm existence before the creation of the universe. Questions are, where did this pre-universe existence come from? Did someone or something above and beyond this existence and universe create it? Oh yeah. I believe that above and beyond is God, the creator of pre-universe and universe. Creation is the only explanation we have so far for universe existence, and this was said by scientists. Okay, let me see which one of these papers comes first. Oh, okay, this one I think. Okay, still talking about the Big Bang. Big Bang hydrogen gas in the universe coalesced. Oh, I'm sorry. Big Bang hydrogen gas in the universe cooled and became neutral as protons and electrons paired up. Any radiation emitted was quickly absorbed, rendering the period unobservable or dark to astronomers. By the end of the first billion years, radiation known as Lyman continuum had reionized the hydrogen, scattering electrons and making the universe visible once again. Notice this is talking about the universe coming back. Well, according to science, the bounce theory, now we're talking about a different theory. The bounce theory says that there was a universe just like this one before this one. And it said that it had collapsed in on itself, and that in time, when this one reaches its climax, it will collapse in on itself, and there will be another universe formed. Well, that goes with the Bible too. The Bible says there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and this says that there had been one before this one. Well, the Bible says God is the maker of worlds, so science just goes right along with the Bible. Events from the dark ages of the universe, including its reionization, cannot be directly studied. Instead, astronomers must search for similar processes in objects they can examine today, such as those found in the starburst galaxy. The name starburst galaxies comes from the unusually high rate of stellar production in such locations. The galaxy produces greater than 33 times more stars than the Milky Way. Most of the radiation that broke electrons from the neutral hydrogen during the reionization period is thought to come from stellar bursts. Now notice, hydrogen is what produced those stars, that star galaxy, and this is what caused the universe to form. And hydrogen is a gas, came from the air. Stars form deep inside cold, dense clouds where temperatures drop as low as minus 262 degrees. Now, what are clouds? They're gases, because gases form clouds. Minus 440 degrees Fahrenheit. These stars emit radiation. See, the stars emit the radiation, but it is quickly absorbed by the cloud of gas around the stars. You see, the gas is what forms the stars, and it's all around them. However, the stars lay so close together, the galaxy is just over 650 light years across. That radiation and rapid heating from the winds flowing from the stars out of the galaxy, widening existing small holes, allowing the ionizing radiation to escape. Whittaker and her team captured the leaks with NASA's Hubble Space Telescope. In the early universe, escaping radiation like this could have served to energize particles, breaking up the neutral hydrogen that dampened visibility. Hydrogen is also a gas. A starburst studied. A handful of galaxies in the early universe are leaking radiation. Scientists are able to study these galaxies from the universe's youth because of the correlation between the distance light travels and the time it takes to make the journey. Essentially, looking at objects in the distant universe is like looking back in time. Astronomers see the light as it was when it left the object. Galaxies in the early universe lie nearly 13 billion light years from the, just a minute, Milky Way, which makes studying them a challenge. Now, in contrast lies This galaxy lies about 3 billion light years away, making it far easier to gain a detailed understanding of how the radiation escapes. 2 other nearby galaxies are suspected to be leaking radiation, but each has only a tenth as much radiation as this one does that they studied. Although starburst galaxies are not generally thought to be leaking radiation. Book-Kerr said that holes in other compact starburst galaxies should be common. This is the direct evidence of how the galactic feedback via winds is air, can lead to conditions that allow Lyman continuum to escape. Book-Kerr said, this tells us about the physics of star formation and its feedback in the epoch of reionization, and solves the decades-old mystery of how Lyman continuum photons can escape through the cold cloud cocoon enveloping star-forming regions. Well, as you can see, guesses formed it all, started it all. Guesses is air. God is spirit, and spirit is air. Now, here's another paper. This is a news story that was printed. For once, it was a news story that could claim to be cosmically important, the first compelling evidence for the cause of the Big Bang. Scientists who have spent their careers wrestling with the mysteries of the universe are still hailing the discovery as the biggest advance in cosmology for decades. Yet the reason for their excitement over beam mode polarization effects in the cosmic background radiation isn't immediately obvious. So what's in it for us? Simply put, if you're the parent of small children, you can now give them a better answer to the question, where did everything come from? It is truly mind-boggling how the answer to that question has changed over the generations. When our grandparents were children, the best scientific answer was, search me. As far as astronomers could tell, the universe just was. Infinite in extent, infinite in age, static, unchanging. That was changed with the first cosmic news story, the announcement in 1929 by the American astronomer Edwin Hubble that the universe is expanding. Even Einstein struggled to get his head around that. His own theory of gravity, general relativity, had hinted at the possibility of an expanding universe, but he was so wedded to the standard view of a static universe, he had fiddled his equations to get the right answer. That in turn led to the first cosmic why question. Why is the universe expanding? One didn't need to be Einstein to guess at an answer, that sometimes in the very distant past, the universe must have been much smaller and somehow exploded in what one cosmologist jokingly labeled a Big Bang. That's where the Big Bang got its name from. Obvious answers to cosmic questions tend to be treated with suspicion by scientists. However, in summary, mates kept the Big Bang theory into the second cosmic news story, which broke in 1965. 2 scientists working for Bell Telephone Labs in New Jersey had discovered that the whole sky is hissing at microwave frequencies, and the hiss had exactly the properties expected of the faint radiation left over from the Big Bang. There's radiation again. So it seemed the simple answer to why the universe is expanding was right after all. Around 14 billion years ago, there really had been a cosmic detonation that started the whole process off. The making of the stars and them blowing up and emitting light and heat. It all dates back to the gases that form the stars. And the gases is air, and God is air. So it proves that God exists, and it proves that He created all things. Thank you.